Hey, want to come take a tour of the yarn lair? Let's go check it out. Come on. Hello, and welcome to WheelTrish Knits, My Life in Yarn. If you're new here, welcome, or if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here today for a really exciting episode I have. We're finally going to get a tour of my craft room. Yay! I had so much fun putting the room together last year. It hit us that my daughter, who left home almost 4 years ago at the time when we started redoing the room, um, probably isn't coming back to live here anymore. So before she was born, the room was sort of my computer and craft and junk room, and I decided to turn it back into a craft room. And that was so exciting for me because prior to that, I had bins and bins and bins of yarn all over my house, and it was so overwhelming, and I needed to put it all somewhere. So we decided to turn my um, daughter's former bedroom into a crafting and knitting space for me, and I absolutely love it. So, without further ado, here's the tour. Welcome to my yarn lair. We had so much fun making this last year, and it has just about everything I need all in one place. This is a short stack of shelves that's right next to my desk. It contains mostly mini skeins, but the drawers at the bottom have all my notions in them. This is my up-down desk from IKEA. I absolutely love it. And this is a day bed in case my daughter ever decides to come home again for a visit. And the drawers in the bottom hold all of my active whips. That photo up there is one that I took myself about 10 years ago. Here's my fun yarn wall. You'll see most of the yarns here are purple, just like the glowing lights. It's gaudy and terrific, and I love it. Here's where most of my yarn lives, on this giant 5x5 Kallax shelf. You'll see in a second that not all of my yarn fit actually in the cubby holes. We had to put some on top too. And really, this is what my stash looks like after I pared it down quite a lot so that it would fit in this space. The closet holds most of my empty project bags. You can see I have more than a few, but that's okay. A girl can never have too many bags, right? There are a few projects down here that wouldn't fit in the drawers in the bed. And here I am working at my up-down desk. This is a spreadsheet developed by Natalie that she used to track all of her yarn stash. It looked like such a great idea that I also took the spreadsheet and started using it, I added a column for the labels on the boxes so that I know which box each of my yarns is in. Other than that, it's her invention, and I will definitely link to the location of the spreadsheet at the end of this video, or actually in the description below, so that you can grab the spreadsheet for yourself. I find it extremely helpful. Okay, so as you can see, my desk is a bit of a mess right now. It's kind of my catch-all for everything. Usually I do my recording there for this video channel, and I do lots of writing and record keeping there as well. But it's also where I have a yarn ball winder and swift. And when I get the gumption to get it all cleaned off so that there's room for the ball winder and swift to move, it is the most amazing space for being able to work with my yarn. I'm so thrilled to have a space that I can do that. My up-down desk is one of my favorite things in the yarn room. I call it an up-down desk because for me, calling it a sit-stand desk, that's kind of ridiculous. But I have discovered that I really do like having variable heights depending on what I'm doing. For instance, if I'm photographing something, I like the desk surface to be lower so that I can look down at what it is that I'm trying to take a picture of. And then if I am recording a podcast, for instance, um, or trying to take a picture at more eye level, I will raise the surface of the desk so that everything's a little more even. It's kind of wonky having a viewpoint from a wheelchair sometimes because I'm down lower than most standard things are, and so it kind of looks like I'm looking up at the world more often than I care to think about. So having a desk that'll come to me for whatever I need it for is pretty amazing. And it was kind of an afterthought when we went to IKEA. I had made my shopping list and I pretty much just had an ordinary table slotted for the space where the desk is. And the electronic desks were like catty corner from the table that I was picking out in the store. And my husband looked and said, "Hey, what about this?" And I thought, "Oh my goodness." And to be honest, I looked at the price and I thought, this is pretty amazing because I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I buy a lot of up-down desks for people in my job, um, people with disabilities who need to be able to change positions frequently. And I had just never ever thought of having one for myself, but it is the most amazing thing. Also, I really like the yarn filing system that my organizer and I came up with. Yeah, I had so much stuff all over my house and yarn everywhere and too much stuff everywhere that about a year and a half ago we hired a professional organizer, and she helped us do a lot of things, one of which was helping to put the room together. I also had a good friend help me with that a lot too, because I mean, I can't really physically do a lot of the hauling around and moving and sorting and things, but I can say what I want or need, and um, I'm just so fortunate that I have people who can help. Anyway, The yarn shelves, as you can see in the photo, maybe, have labels attached to each of the boxes, and each label is absolutely unique. So I can know immediately by looking at my spreadsheet which box a particular exact yarn is that I may be looking for. And that has just made things so much easier. And the other thing I've done, because I've heard too many horror stories about moths and stuff, is we have put my yarn in Ziploc bags and then put it in the boxes. So it's not open to the air. Um, and um, hopefully the bags will help keep things safe. And they're pretty much bagged up in ways that make sense. Like if I had three yarns picked out for a particular shawl, even if the yarns were different, I'll put them in the same Ziploc bag. Or if I have a sweater's quantity of yarn for um, another project, those would all go in the same bag. So there are a heck of a lot of Ziploc bags being employed on my yarn shelves, but it really, between the Ziplocs and the individual boxes, um, it really makes a huge difference in being able to grab exactly what I need. And I am just so incredibly thrilled. And the day bed that's in the room um, actually folds out to be a full king size bed, um, which my daughter has actually used a couple times. She's been home for visits twice since we put the room together. And she says, the day bed is reasonably comfortable for staying on it for a few nights. So I'm really happy about that. And the drawers underneath the daybed are absolutely huge, and they hold so many project bags with projects in them, which is a good thing because, as you've heard me say before, I have 60 unfinished projects. Now, there's not 60 unique project bags in the drawers, but um, there are um, a couple of places where I have projects stashed, and I'm hoping to work through a lot of them, or maybe I'll have to do a finish or frogget look at all of my projects and see, you know, what I'm going to do. But um, for now, things seem to be pretty okay, and I'm just incredibly thrilled to have a space like that um, where everything has a place. I did mention that I got rid of a lot of yarn as I was um, going through things to put it in the room. And luckily, um, my organizer found a charitable organization that makes a lot of things for homeless people. And so my sock yarn, for example, got donated a lot. And also, my organizer um, sent some yarn home to her native Germany, and her mother had a knit group, or somebody, I think it was her mom, had a knit group, and so I was able to share some of my yarns with some lovely ladies over in Germany, and that just made me feel good that when I was done letting certain yarns languish in my stash, um, that they didn't just go to Goodwill. I had a long talk with my organizer about that in the beginning and said, you know, I am not going to let, my really super duper hand dyed yarn be thrown in a pile in Goodwill and sold for $1. I'd rather give it away and have it go to somebody that will really appreciate having it. And so it all worked out. And I had a friend or two pick some things that they liked out of my stash that I was getting rid of. So, um, but believe me, I have plenty of yarn. The subject of how much yarn there is going to be a topic for another day because my Sunday night knit Zoom group is kind of having a friendly competition trying to figure out how much yarn I have in my stash. Um, Let me be honest and say that it's a lot. It's amazing how much yarn those boxes on those shelves hold. And I think my friends are going to be pretty surprised. But the spreadsheet that I'm using by Natalie from Love and Stitches and Nitty Natty um, made it so that it calculates the amount of yarn in yards and also grams. And um, my organizer comes, and I have a friend that comes, and we pick a box or two each time and add it to the spreadsheet. It's not a project I can do completely independently because actually getting the boxes off the shelf um, can be a little bit difficult. So I usually have to have somebody with me that can, go through the box and call out what's in there, and they call it out and I write it down, and it's kind of a team effort. So it's going to take me a little while before I have everything cataloged sufficiently, and then we're going to see which of my knitting friends can come the closest to my actual total. Um, let's just say right now I think I've cataloged about half the stash, or maybe slightly more than half. I don't know. I haven't actually sat down and counted the number of boxes on the spreadsheet, and it is many miles of yarn so far. And there's just so much more to come. It's crazy. I definitely reached Sable, which is stash accumulation beyond life expectancy, many years ago. And, you know, my yarn is mostly probably going to outlive me. It's just a fact. And hopefully, my good knitting friends will be able to make some use of whatever's left after I'm no longer here to knit with it. But in the meantime, I consider my yarn to be my pets. And many people say that collecting yarn is one hobby and knitting is another, and that is absolutely true. I usually purchase yarn with a project in mind, but then a lot of times I just never get to that project, and so the yarn will languish for a fairly long period of time. Um, I tend to like really big projects that take months and months to do, so I don't, speed through my stash. It gets used up rather slowly, much slower than what goes out. Is much slower than um, what comes in. But I will say, in my own defense, that I have um, not completely stopped buying yarn, but the rate at which I purchase yarn has slowed down quite a lot, because the truth is, most of those boxes on those shelves are pretty dang full, and I don't have too many places to put a lot of new yarn, and the room's not going to get any bigger. So I have to start working with what I have, and hopefully the spreadsheet will help me in knowing what I have, so that I don't rush out and buy the first thing I see in yarn, because chances are good I already have something similar in my stash. Of course, every once in a while there's always something new and exciting that a yarn lover just has to have, and I do allow myself those indulgences occasionally. I'm a sucker for mini skeins and um, Advent or festive season calendar type yarns. And I enjoy working with mini skeins, and that's probably not going to change. I probably have thousands of them. I've never counted, but it's a lot. So, it is what it is. But for now, my stash all has a home, and I'm pretty proud of that. So I can't really complain. Anyway, that's about all I have to share with you for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing my lovely new crafting space. And at some point, I will show you some of the yarn that's hiding in those boxes. But for now, I hope you got a sense of, where I love spending my time and um, how I organize things. And this concept of being organized is new to me. So I am very proud, I guess, of how things are going so far, even though my desk is a mess. But um, it's not as bad as it could be, and I certainly can move things around when I need to use my desk for different purposes. So um, right now, though, it's kind of crowded with studio lights and microphone things and all the stuff that I need while I'm getting used to doing YouTube videos. So, um, anyway, I hope you had fun um, looking at my space. And if you can't tell, I love purple. And so it's an absolutely wonderful space that feels so much like me. And I guess it takes a while of having kids and waiting for them to grow up, and then they leave and leave empty spaces. And it's nice to be able to fill an empty space that feels kind of sad otherwise, um, with something that makes me so happy. And I hope you enjoyed looking too. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.